In this lesson, we'll double check our animation, make sure it's solid before we call it finished. Let's start back the animation from the beginning and hit play to see how everything's coming together, to look at what we'd like to possibly fix before we call this complete. I think for one, we can add a little bit better follow through in the gaster, animating its twist. The head seems to pop just slightly still as it approaches the box, just before it makes contact. We need to adjust a few of our pole vectors for the front legs. You'll see that this front leg at the right is slowly moving back. We're going to want to keep that still. And we'll also want to adjust this left leg so it doesn't intersect with the head. We might even consider adding a few more in-between poses to the antennas so they look a little bit more sporadic. So let's go ahead and get started and check those tasks off our list. So we'll start with the gaster. Let's go to the graph editor. We'll move this menu down and we'll go to the gaster channel, frame it. And I think we could add that better follow through, that better feeling of weight after frame 56. Notice we have a key here, so we'll just go after that frame, go to about the point where he's really starting to pick up speed. That's on 66. So we can rotate the gaster a little bit more to the right. And then take this key on 71 and move that back. Say about 17 frames or so to delay that. See how this looks. Let's see how it would look if we even increase this key a little bit more. Great. And we'll want to have it then settle afterwards. Add a little bit of overlapping by going to 107 and having it move again to the right, but not as much. Let's see how this looks. We'll hit play. Great. We'll look at it one more time. Alright, so now we're getting a better feeling of weight. Let's now go ahead and address this issue of it intersecting with the ground. So we'll show our curves, and we can modify the center of gravity control. Let's see, on about 150, we go ahead and bring this character up. Okay, and we'll want to also bring him forward to avoid the legs overextending. We'll look at our keys to see if there's anything to clean up. So we've adjusted the translate Y and translate Z. We'll just frame those, and they look fine. Alright, that fixes that problem. Let's look at the arms to make sure that the legs to make sure that they're not pulling. Great. So from here we can address the pole vector issue. We'll start with the right side. We don't want that, again, slowly moving back. That's unnatural. So let's take the pose on, let's say about 128, and middle click on 147 and press Shift W. Just so there's still just a little bit of movement. Alright, great. So that fixes that problem. Now the pole vector comes back when it needs to. Now for the left side, okay, the intersecting happens before 158. It happens right at 157. So let's go two more frames before. 155, we'll press Shift W. And at 160, when the character has reached his final pose, we'll go ahead and push that leg back. Let's see how this looks. Alright, great. From here, let's go ahead and work on fixing the head. So remember, we switched the head's follow orientation from the thorax to the world from frames 118 to 119. So that's where the popping is happening. So what we'll need to do is actually make sure that the pose on frame 119 blends with 118. Look at this in the side view as well. Alright, so it looks like we'll need to bring this head a little bit more down and to the left. Let's see how that looks. Alright, great. That looks much better. Alright, so once this is finished, let's say we go ahead and add a few more in-betweens to the antennas. Start back from the beginning, frame it. We're just going through and just adding a few more extremes. Again, still making sure that they're focused on that box. So now we'll go between 20 and 30, maybe 24. Straighten up this right. Maybe cross over the left. And adjust its pole vector. Do the same for the right. Go now to about 34. Say we have the left pointed more at the box. Adjust its pole vector. And the right, maybe we could just bring this up higher. Going back to the control, we can go to, let's say, 46 this time. And maybe take this left, bring it more to the side. And the right, bring that down a little bit more. Going to 55. Let's have that left point directly at the box, and the right will switch places. We'll bring this higher. Cross that. I'll just scrub to see how it's coming together. Alright, great. So I think they're starting to move a little bit more insect-like. If we want, we can go even between that on 57 and add a slight pose here. Slight change. And then at 66, I'll just frame the control. For the left, maybe bring that up, and the right, bring that at the box. We're just about finished. 74. Like to have that left antenna point down. The right, maybe swing that out. And then for about 85, can bring this left antenna over, and the right as well, so that they're kind of pointed at the same direction. '93, we can go here and maybe straighten out that right, bring up the left, and adjust the pole vector. Going back to the control, let's see. I like to maybe modify on frame 100, just fix this antenna on the right so that it's pointed more towards the box. And then on 97, maybe we can go there and add a slight change to the left antenna. Alright, that should be it. Now the insect charges in. Great. So from here, let's go ahead and hide our controls to see if we like how everything has come together, to see if we can maybe add anything else. Now the antennas are moving more natural, more sporadic. Excellent. I like how everything's coming together. So I think what we could do from here is work on making a shot camera. Before we call it finished, we'll go to Panels, Perspective, and make a new camera. We'll call this shot cam. Finding our insect. It's over to the side. Let's go ahead and modify this camera so it's got more of a front view. What we could always do is just quickly select the insect, just frame it, and then adjust the camera that way. We will also need to fix the far clipping plane. So we'll select the camera, view, select camera, go to the attribute editor and just put in a few more zeros, setting this to 100,000. Great. So let's find a nice view. I'd say more to the left would be great because that's where the main action is happening. So we'll set our major angle, and then from here we'll just add a little bit of subtlety to this shot cam. So we'll just select the camera, press Shift W and Shift D on frame 100, and go to, let's say, about 58. Move the camera a little bit to the left and down. Maybe on 111 we can move it up and to the right. And then to finish, maybe we can go to about 182 and start bringing this to the left and down. Let's see how this looks. We'll hit play. Alright. It looks pretty good. So from here, what I like to do with it still selected is just go to the graph editor, go to the translate Y and just offset a few of these keys. And that is going to make the motion of the shot camera look a little bit more fluid. So we could just modify the translate Y, and as we do, when we hit play, we can see that should suffice. Great. Well, now that this is finished, we'll go back to our controls. We will set our character at a high res. We can select our indicator controls and make sure that their primary visibility is going to be off. We are going to render this, and then we can set our render back to high quality, view the normal map, hide our controls, and play blast our shot camera, taking a look at what we've worked on in this training. Here's the final result. Great. So to produce this animation, we went through several principles, several tips to keep in mind for animating hexapods, six-legged creatures. We also just basically looked at ways we can make the animation look a little bit more entertaining, keeping it upbeat and making sure that the weight is there for realism. So in the end, we produced something very imaginative and fun. This brings us to the conclusion of animating creatures in Maya insects. Over the last few hours, we learned a significant amount about animating multi-limbed creatures and were able to establish efficient techniques for animating a realistic hexapod. Some of the techniques included adding weight for realism, establishing timing for attacking an object, using pose-to-pose and straight-ahead to block in animation, and specific ways for convincingly animating antennas. In the end, we were able to create a realistic, entertaining, and imaginative creature. To continue your education and expand your skill set, I'd encourage you to visit us online where you'll find all of the latest announcements. Built on educational values, Digital Tutor started with a simple vision in mind to help new and experienced artists become more productive by learning new software and production techniques. We've been a leading online resource for free video-based training and have been instrumental in aiding millions of artists on a daily basis. Learn more about the multitudes of training solutions we offer online for various areas of the production pipeline at digitaltutors.com.